All right. So I want to thank you for joining the discussion itself about financial literacy. And what we're looking for here itself is really just an understanding of what it means to be financial literate and what is the importance behind it. So if there's any questions, any concerns, any comments itself, put it in the chat. Just get off mute, raise your hand. Just it's an open discussion. So if there's any conversation, discussions, questions you may have as we go through this, by all means, it's definitely something that we'd like, we want to do. So that's the thing we want to have here as part of our conversation itself. But it's all about financial literacy. We just completed April is Financial Literacy Month, and we want to understand exactly what it is that get people outside of being smart when it comes to money. There's so many factors that we keep saying, like, oh, just learn, have a budget, have savings. There's so many things that can be in place. But then there's the question of, like, what is it that I need to know when it comes to having finances in order. So the big thing too is, if I told you things like Bitcoin, right? Or investing in an IRA, or having an emergency fund. Those are all things that are things we accomplish as part of the whole process. But there's a lot that's involved in that, and I think that's the thing that we want to to kind of put in place when it comes to being smart about money. Okay, so sorry. Let me just, okay. So what's the problem when it comes to, a financial literacy itself, guys? A lot of people are like, it wasn't learned. It wasn't something we learned in school. It wasn't something that we picked up over time as well. We learn as we go when it comes to financial, and learning about money itself. But why do we think there's such a lack of education when it comes to money? Some people may have the debate of, people want to make money, but there's a process that's involved when it comes to making money. There's this lack of understanding, hey, it's good to save, but what am I saving for? It's good I need to retire, but what does that mean from a retirement standpoint? Because I know retirement could look like I'm 55 on the beach. Or in the mountains, where some other people might be like, I'm retiring, what's that? I could be working till I'm 80, as a greeter at Walmart or working at CVS itself. So there's a lot of things that are involved when it comes to knowing more on how to make money and what it means to be financial literate as well. It's funny too, there's some comments that you can have. There's a lot of comments in regards to, like, people don't want to pursue wealth, right? They wish they they had the lifestyle that's made by being wealthy. And sometimes we think about it like it's easy for us to be able to live the life we want, but there's the wealth and money that needs to be in place in order for that to happen, for that to work. Right? Some of us, are unwilling to, there's comments or like, we're unwilling to sacrifice time, energy to learn more about money, to make money itself, but building that wealth. There's one thing to be rich and have money as well, but there's a difference of what we have when we build wealth over time as well. So I think that's the things that we kind of go through, is that there's these comments and these stigmas that are tied to learning about what it means to be wealthy and the steps that are necessary to make that actually happen. It's easy to say, right? We fall into the pitfalls, when we're not knowledgeable about money and how to make it and what to do with it. It can lead us to a number of pitfalls itself. Think about it. We overspend. Right? We don't have a track of our debts. We may accumulate debts that are too big for us to sustain, to be able to pay off. And some of the things that stand out, obviously the easy ones are like credit card debt, but we have business debt that could be accumulated. It's debt is debt, right? If it's business or personal. We want to build the business, but we keep spending and not having, the money itself come in. That can also turn if we're not smart and know all of the things that are involved in building that up. The pitfalls that turn into, guys, we have poor credit, right? People turning to bankruptcy, housing, losing our housing and foreclosures, and just any other negative, consequences that come with just not knowing, having the information needed to be able to say, what can I do better each day? And do it with the money that I have, that I'm going to make, and the plans that I have when it comes to goals that we set as part of our financial journey. So this is where we want to be careful of, like, the more knowledge I have doesn't mean that we're free from making poor decisions, because I last time I checked, Amazon is still doing pretty well in delivering. So we do some impulse buying itself. But what we want to do is that, these impulse buys, these behaviors, these habits itself don't lead us to a point where we're doing it because it makes us feel good. And it's not because, hey, I don't have the knowledge itself to be able to know, that the budget is a good thing. Having a savings is a good thing. Doing what's necessary so that I have not only a retirement plan for me, but for me, the biggest thing that maybe having some planning in place allows me to not be a burden to my kids, to our children itself. Because the biggest thing that we're seeing today in our kind of our generation in these times is we have parents that are taking care of their parents, and oh, by the way, you're also taking care of your kids, and everybody's having the same situations in place. And this is what we want to try to do is educate ourselves in regards to how we need to manage our money, but also put ourselves in a position where, there's not this dependency to be able to live the life that we want to live, but still be able to take care of our loved ones. If it's going to be our parents or our kids or their kids, if we're lucky enough with grandkids and great grandkids, and how long we're going to live. So that's the other, those are the things that we want to, have in place. All right. So remember, you can leave your comments in the, if there's any questions, comments, just get off mute if there's any questions as we go along as well. All right. So we know what's happening when it comes to financial literacy itself, but why is it important? Think about, like, most of us make good decisions when we have more information about it. So, like, you don't just buy a house without looking at it, right? Well, you could. I mean, in this market, some people have, but, or buying a car, researching, what are some of the needs that the car has to have? The more knowledge you have about a particular purchase or the things that you're doing with your money, the more you're going to be confident when it comes to that purchase, what you're doing. There's anything you do with your money itself, the more knowledge you have, the good habits, the behaviors you put in place, is more likely for you to be able to manage your money more effectively. And managing your money effectively can be different, but it's for you, it's kind of like, am I saving enough? Am I, saving enough? Am I investing enough? Am I, investing in myself? Am I investing in my children? Am I investing in my business? All of those questions are going to be different for all of you. That's the beauty of this itself, is I wish I could tell you, here's the cookie cutter way to do it, and it's going to work for all of you the same way. We all manage money differently. We all manage our behaviors differently. So any of this information itself is going to be tailored to what it is, your goals. What are your things that you're looking to do? And as we have more information, as we have more skills regarding our money, we build confidence. The more knowledge you have, the more confident you'll be able to make decisions based off the money that you do have and what you're doing with it, right? Right. The other thing too is having the confidence and the knowledge allows you to be able to handle situations better. The more stress we have, think about it, guys, the more stress we have, when we're stressed, can we handle money properly, right? How confident are we when we're like so stressed out that we're able to manage all of our situations and all the money itself? It's it's one of those kind of things that if you have the knowledge needed, you build the confidence over time, the easier it is to be able to manage your situations when you're actually stressed out. And stress can come in multitude of ways, guys. Stress can be specific to, I lost my job. Stress can come into someone's unhealthy in the family. Stress can come into all sorts of situations, and having the knowledge and the plans and the skill sets in place are not going to guarantee that the stress is going to go away, but it gives you an opportunity to be able to manage that stress more effectively, because you have the knowledge, you have the confidence, you have what's needed to be able to handle these money situations in the future. Think about it like this as well, is having these things in place allow you to be able to prevent the lasting effects when it comes to dealing with crisis. Do you have to do debt consolidation, or do you have to go through bankruptcy? How am I going to manage, if I do lose my job, or my spouse loses my job, or there's a death in the family, or any of those kind of things that happen. Life is going to happen. The more confident you are, the more information you have, the more equipped you'll be to be able to actually address these situations. The other thing too is it also allows you to be able to deal with things that are not so, I would say, I don't want to go doomsday, right? But impulse buys. Like, hey, I do things on an impulse. It's like, luckily, if it's Amazon, that's a good thing. But I've heard of, my husband came home with a boat. And it's like, whoa, okay, that's an impulse purchase. And we go into those situations itself where it's like, I had a great deal and this was good. But it's like, okay, how confident were you in that? Or how, did you do the research? Was it the Best Buy? How old was the boat? Did you buy it new? So many questions that come into play itself. So it's not just having a plan for the entire, like your whole portfolio, but it's also asking these questions when it comes to just, hey, do I have enough to be able to purchase a new iPad or any of those kind of things as well? It gives you, these are the things that we want to put ourselves when it comes to managing our money itself. So it's not just learning how to invest, but it's also learning what kind of behaviors we put in play to be able to manage our day-to-day expenses as well. All right. All right. So the next few slides are guys, it's really about like the foundations of financial literacy. So we talk about having a budget. It's important. The budget is your plan. It's what you do, what you're going to do with your money itself. So it's the income coming in. It's the money going out. And most of us get into trouble when we spend a little bit more than we make. But knowing that is better than saying, I don't have a budget and I have absolutely no idea what's happening with my money on a day-to-day, month-to-month, year-to-year basis, right? So having a budget is important so you can know how to control your spending, know how to manage your spending itself, and obviously being intentional with what the money you have. Do I need insurance? Do I want to retirement, for a retirement plan? Do I want that savings and sinking fund, things of that nature? So the budget allows us to be more intentional in that work. The types of budgets is going to be up to you, right? So there's no, like I said, you can Google and you can YouTube how to create a budget, but a lot of times itself is creating a budget that works for you and your lifestyle. What is it that's important to you? It should meet your values itself. The big thing is in behavior wise, I'm always going to say, knowing the difference between needs and wants is going to be important on how you manage your budget. A lot of us need Amazon packages to come, right? No, usually it's a desire for getting those things. Our needs itself are really, 4 walls. When we talk about our housing, our utilities, I need to get to work, we need to eat, and sometimes we need to make sure we have clothing for everybody. Those are our needs. The wants itself are the other things that are going to prevent us from actually achieving the goals that we have specific to our financial journey. All right. Now, the good thing is that there's different types of budgets too. So if you work 9 to 5, you probably get a nice regular income. If you're an entrepreneur, you probably have an irregular income itself. So knowing how the money is coming in and being able to manage that on a month-to-month basis allows us to be able to understand exactly, when will I have money to pay bills, and when will I be, have money to be able to do things in life. All right. And then of course, if you're business owners, you should have a budget that's specific to your personal, and you should have one that's specific to your business, and make sure they're separate. I'm assuming that your business will feed into your personal, but it's one of those kind of things. Knowing where your money is going for both makes it a lot easier, and obviously having them separate will also make it a lot easier in how you manage your money. Okay. All right. So having the budget is one thing. Now that I have money, what am I doing with it? So the first thing you'll see from a foundation perspective is you need to save. We need to have some money saved for a rainy day. So emergency funds, you have sinking funds, you have rainy day funds. But you got to understand, like, why are you saving? It's not making me money. So why do I have money just sitting there, right? The importance of having a savings itself, guys, is making sure that you understand life is going to happen. If you're a house owner, usually things break in threes. So if it's a roof, then it's an appliance, then it's a, toilet gets clogged, the kids, put in extra diapers somewhere, something's going to happen. And it always happens in threes. Having a good financial situation when it comes to, and again, the knowledge itself, putting that stuff in place allows you to say, okay, what's an emergency? And having something in place that says, when life happens, we're not having to go to debt. I don't have to go to credit card. I don't have to, there's money there to help me deal with when life happens. The other thing that life happens that emergency funds allows us to kind of deal with too is, again, God forbid, someone gets sick and can't work. If someone loses a job and they're out of work itself, an emergency fund is meant to address those types of life changes too. Having something in place that allows us to be able to go, okay, we don't have to panic, because we can keep the house and the lights and eating for at least a few months before we can, before we have to panic. But knowing this information allows you to be able, again, we're trying to reduce stress in this whole process. So having this information allows you to be able to do that. Emergency fund is one. We talk about sinking funds. Having sinking funds is also, it's again, an account that you set aside to be able to pay debt or pay something. Sinking funds are popular when it comes to like anniversaries, birthdays, Christmas. Christmas happens on the same day every year, guys. And yet I feel like we all scramble to get those last minute gifts. Where am I going to pay for it? How are we going to pay for these things? Having these types of savings funds that we set aside a little bit of money, even a vacation fund, saving for toys, for the whatever it might be. But having these types of savings allows you to be able to do more and allow you to be able to have those things in reserves when the time is time. Again, what we want to try to do for us folks is not go to debt or borrow or say, in any of those ways itself. We want to have our little kind of fund itself that allows us to be able to manage these things in the future. Rainy day funds, hill and valley funds, for some of those folks who have irregular type job incomes that are coming in. Rainy day funds allows us to, hey, when I'm doing well, we're putting a little bit of money aside to be able to manage when the downtimes are, when we have not so much money coming in. So we'll be able to have a balance between the two itself. And I think that's another thing that we want to, really put ourselves in that position when it comes to savings. So they all have different roles when it comes to savings itself, but at the end of the day, it's making sure we have something in place that we have that makes sure that when life happens, we're not having to panic or go under stress to make things happen. All right. So the other item when it comes to literacy itself is, again, knowing more about paying off debt. Debt itself, is it good? Is it bad? The debate rages on the internet. For me, debt is debt. whether you use debt to, I don't know, some people use it to invest, use it to, I think nowadays you can borrow money to buy Bitcoin. So, I mean, it's one of those kind of things that you can use debt to make money. Sure, there's a debate, a lively debate on that for sure. And I can imagine there's always opinions on it. But at the end of the day, what gets people into trouble when it comes to debt is we have too much of it. When we are unable to control the debt itself, when it gets to amounts that our monthly income can't even manage. So for me, it's more of like, okay, understanding as part of our financial literacy is how do we manage debt? What debt do we have? And again, what's our relationship with it? If it's good debt, great. If it's bad debt, great. But what are we doing to make sure that it's low or it's not existing when it comes to our personal and our business? Debt is also tied to credit scores. So when it comes to our relationship with credit, how are we doing that? Knowing what is our purpose of a credit score. What was a purpose? What do we use a credit score for when it comes to big purchases? Having, I know there's credit checks when it comes to renting or buying a car or, applying to schools. There's certain things that they're tied to. But how many of us actually know how to build our credit score? How many of us know, what our credit score actually means? That's again, part of our financial literacy itself is understanding how that information is calculated, how it's used, and what we can do to make sure, like, hey, we're using it responsibly as part of our financial journey as well. Obviously, the big thing too, when we talk about debts itself is the big purchases. Our biggest investments we have is our homes, and having the cars that are necessary itself, going to school. So for our kids going to college and private schools, all of that itself, it entails debt when we are dealing with our finances. The question is, how much of it can we do, and what can we sustain when it comes to our budgets, what we're doing with our savings, and what we're trying to do for our future itself. So knowing more about our debt and how we're managing our debt is very important to be able to know what we can do specific to our financial journeys as well. All right. The biggest thing that I feel most of us jump to is building wealth. It's like we want to make money. Where can I learn to have our money make money? That's the thing that everybody jumps to, right? So for me, it's like you have to really focus on the foundations for the knowledge and your journey itself, which is your budget, which is your plan, knowing your goals, having the savings itself so that you can have and do things that you can or want to do when it comes to our money, making sure we have debt that is controllable and we can manage. And then it's the building of wealth. When we jump to building wealth itself, investing comes in multitude of ways. We have your 401ks, mutual funds, we do stocks, CDs, savings, Bitcoin, all of these kind of things itself. What I'm seeing though is that we're investing in these types of items, but some of us then are doing and are using credit or debt to be able to build wealth. The problem that we see in some of these, and we have to be careful on, is what if the investing doesn't go in our favor? We lose money. And on top of that, since we use debt to actually, try to make money and in these investments, we put ourselves in a situation that we're now in a financial hole that we might need to dig ourselves out of. So, but most of us don't understand. It's like, well, I've invested, I know I'll make money. And it's like, the problem is most of us want the making the money part to be fast. And investing itself takes time. And it takes time depending on, how you're investing, how much risk you're investing, you're putting in your investments itself. So some of us can be conservative and have a growth that could be 2 or 3%. Some of us might take some more risks and try to go for the 12 to 30% increase in our investments. But there's no guarantee. That's the risk we have when it comes to building wealth. And a lot of it can come into other forms of investing that we have here as well. But knowing this information, would you invest in stocks if you didn't know anything about it? Would you invest? It's easy to say, yeah, I would invest in Apple or Microsoft now if I had the money itself. But a lot of times in the past now, even if you're investing in new startups, which ones are the ones that are going to make the money? That's the risk you take of like, well, I'm going to put everything in Tesla's competitors instead of Tesla. There's no guarantee that you're actually going to make that money itself, make it back. So these are the things that we work through when it comes to building wealth. And the more knowledge we have, the more confident we can be when it comes to our investing. Retirement planning seems to be, that's part of our building of wealth over time. But the question we need to ask itself is, well, what's your retirement plan? Are you planning to do it at 40, 45? Are you planning to do it at 65, 70? Not planning to ever retire? But what does retirement mean to you? What is the number that you're looking for? Like, oh, I need $1 million to retire. Well, what's that do for you? Is that going to buy you a house? Or have you live on a yearly salary or a yearly basis? Are you gonna use your distributions? What does that mean when it comes to retiring? So, and most of us, we think we understand what that means, but a lot of us don't take the time to kind of like, let's talk this through with our spouses, with ourselves. It's important for us to be able to say, what does retirement planning mean to me? And then let's say, what are we doing to actually make these things happen? And a lot of folks that a lot of the youngins, I'll say, all the youngins that I talk to, they're like, I want to retire when I'm 40, 45. Great. What are you doing today to make that a reality? What does that number look like? So the more information we have, the better we can be in regards to making those goals instead of something. I think most of us be like, we can wish. I think I can wish these things and I'll make it happen. The universe will make it happen. It's important for us to be able to say, like, understand the goals. Why are they important to me? Then what am I doing to make these things happen? Real estate is very popular as well. Rental properties, buying the second home, rental properties across the United States. Real estate investing is big. Once again, though, knowing where to invest, where is the right, rental properties, the locations for these kind of things. They always said, like buying a home itself and buying property itself is all about location. If you don't do your research and you say, well, this is a great buy, I'm just going to get into the house because I know I can flip it without doing any research or anything like that, you leave yourself open for risk and leave yourself open for something not going the way we would want when it comes to that. So all I'm saying is it's great to have these things in place, but it's important for you to know what you're getting into. The more information you have, the more you know, the more confident that you are in regards to the investments, the things you're doing with your money when it comes to the future that you're planning in your journey. All right. Passive income itself is I would say, I want my money making money. So, but having good partners to help you with that, you have your financial advisors, you have your insurance folks itself, you have people in your corner to be able to understand, like, hey, what do I need to do to make these things happen? It's important to not only know what you think you want, but then start associating with yourself with people who can make those things happen. That's important too. Because as much as we like to think, I always say to my wife, I'm a really good plumber because YouTube told me. But it doesn't mean that you've got all the right techniques and what you need itself. You want to associate with someone who's an expert. Give yourself information itself to start the conversation. That gives you the confidence to be able to then have the conversation with folks who can help you drive yourself through your journey and make the gains that you're looking for when it comes to the pillars of your financial journey itself, and obviously the knowledge that comes with that literacy. All right. Last thing though, for all of this is, so we talked about budgets and savings, we talked about investing, we talked about debt. At the end of the day, guys, it's our behaviors as well and our habits that are going to drive us in what we do when it comes to our money and our journey. Knowing the differences of our needs and our wants when it comes to our money and what we spend. Knowing our personality as well. Knowing that you're a spender or a saver itself. Those things are important as well, because how you manage your money is going to kind of dictate what am I doing with it. The other thing too is like, well, how did I become a saver or a spender, right? Some of it could be back to where we are, like how we were raised. You know, my mom was a big saver itself, because she, raising two kids in New York City itself as a single mom, she had to be a saver itself to make ends meet. That influenced me when it came to, you know, when we didn't have a lot of money itself. It's like, okay, let's do as much as we can. You all have stories as well. All of that is going to kind of lead you to how you deal with money today. You have a backstory, whether it's, you know, how you were raised, whether you're you know, the relationship whether you have with your spouse, divorce, kids, all of these kind of things. When it comes to our behaviors itself and our habits are going to influence how we do things with our families today. The other thing for our parents, guys, how are we examples for our kids? You know, they are sponges. They're looking at how we manage money, how we deal with situations, how we are dealing with stress, how we talk about stress with our spouses about money. These are things that they also look at from us. They learn our behaviors from us. What examples are we for our kids? And I get it. As young as, you know, 3 to 5 years old, they're looking at mom and dad and figuring out what are they, how are they doing? What are they, hey, can we go? Can we do this? It starts to become even more when they become 10, 13, 18, 40. Our kids are always learning from us. So our habits and our behaviors are going to influence our next generation of how they're going to be a ham. So what are you doing? So the more knowledge you have, the better conversations you're having with your family members, with your kids, with your spouse. All of these things itself is what we're looking for when it comes to financial literacy. So it's not just, hey, I have a budget, I know the numbers, it gets to zero and we're good. There's so much that's involved when it comes to having the knowledge and managing your money itself for the goals that you're looking for the things that you're looking to accomplish. All right. So where to start? So as much as I will down YouTube itself, educating yourself in regards to that's what's important to you. So there's articles, there's YouTube videos, you know, like, hey, I want to save more. Let me see what's out there. There's tons of articles, you know, from your Ramsey's to Fitness Accountabilities to Coach Connections, Accountable Network, YouTube. There is tons of information to be able to start your conversation, to be able to educate yourself. There's no excuse on learning, you know, and wanting to educate ourselves about the topics that we're having. But what's important for you when it comes to educating yourself is going to be able to determine, like, what are my financial goals? Why am I working as hard as I am? What is important to me in regards to, you know, financial, like, what does that mean to me when it says, oh, I'm financially successful, I'm managing my money well? All of us are going to have a different opinion on that because our journeys are all different. I know we all want to be millionaires though, so don't get me wrong, that's a good goal to have. How we get there is going to be different. But knowing those goals itself allow you to be able to say, let me better educate myself in investing. What is a mutual fund? Should I get a Roth IRA or a traditional IRA? What is Bitcoin? To be honest, it's a good question. What is Bitcoin? I'm still trying to figure out. Blockchain and Bitcoin. I'm still learning. But these are the things itself. For me, it's like, take the time to educate. Take the time to invest in what's important to you when it comes to money and your journey as well. And I always look at it as your accountability partner itself and your coach. So I'm here, your coach, and helping you out. Your accountability partner starts with your relationships, your spouse, your family members, people you trust to be able to talk. We are still in a society itself that having a conversation about money is like, whew, that's hard. That's taboo.
What?
Oops, sorry about that. Looks like we're having a Royal Rumble here. So these are the things itself that we want to know, like, hey, who can I talk to that can hold me accountable when it comes to my behaviors? I want to save. Okay, well, what do we do? Like, having someone in our corner to help with those kind of things, to cheer us on, to be able to say, am I doing this right? Because that's the other thing too, is feedback wise, I can watch as many YouTube videos, but I'm not getting the feedback in the sense of like, is this working? Like, okay, I think I see it working, but am I getting the results that I'm expecting? So part of this process as well is that, having a coach and an accountability partner in your corner is to kind of say, okay, yes, it's working. How do you feel? And do you want the results to be even more gains or different? If it's not working, then let's talk about what that means in regards to not working and what adjustments we need to make. Okay. So your action plans. Yes, I'm giving you homework. It's like, boo. But for you, your action plans that we're saying is, understand as part of your financial literacy and what you're trying to do, the knowledge and the skill sets, the behaviors are looking, understand where you are in your journey, and where you want to be. Are you making the progress that you're expecting and would want? Is there something different that you would want to achieve? What are the goals that you have that are short-term, specific to your finances? What are the long-term goals? As much as we'd like to say, I know we're all 29. What does retirement look like? What are you looking to leave for yourself, leave for your family when it comes to, that time? These are all things that we want to understand as part of your journey. And then what is it that you need to learn? What is it you need to put in place? What changes do you need to make those things happen? List out your goals. What is it that those goals are, short-term and long-term? What is it you're putting in place itself to achieve your financial success? That definition of financial success. Is it the $1 million? Great. Is it the cabin in the woods or the beach home, or having retirement where I can take my kids and their kids on a cruise? Everyone's going to have a different answer. But listing out those goals, and then what are the steps that you're taking today? Is it saving more money? Is it paying out debt? Is it investing more? What are the things that you're looking to put in place to be able to make those things happen? Schedule time to organize yourself for what you want next as well. That's the important thing too. Like organizing yourself, we think that it's gonna I'll do it when I'm ready to go to sleep. Or I'm gonna do it next Tuesday, or I'll do it eventually. And then we realize life continues to happen, and life continues to delay the time that's necessary to organize that information, to organize what you want, how you want to handle, what you want to do. So take the time, schedule some time with yourself and your spouse to say, let's have that journey together. Let's dream together. What do we want to do? How do we want to do it? And let's make the necessary changes to be able to make that work. Or, hey, we're on track. There's nothing else to talk about. So it's up to you in regards to that. But if you haven't had a conversation about it, or haven't had it recently, take the time to do that. Okay. Then I would say too, if you need help or want to have that conversation itself about coaching and providing that support as well, guys, schedule some time with me so we can have a conversation to say, hey, I really want to take the next steps. I have information, but I need someone to kind of hold my hand and hold me accountable with making that work. By all means, schedule that conversation itself. Have the person who's needing that conversation to schedule that time so we can get started on their financial journey and help them put that plan together. All right. So for me, what I do and what I can help as a financial coach, as a money mentor, is really provide you with the plan itself to be able to refocus or focus where your goals are, where you want to be, gain control, and be able to set that plan that allows us to be able to achieve the goals that you set. I'm here to help you to understand your why, understand those goals, help you create those goals itself, organize them in a way that says, okay, here's what I can do today and I can manage now, and here's what I can do and manage, as a long-term goal itself, which could be a few days, few months, few years. But putting those things into place to be able to help you is making sure we organize that so you're not feeling overwhelmed when you're starting your journey and getting this, what we call it, financial independence, financial freedom, having financial success. And yes, I am your accountability partner to help you not only with the tools needed to be able to make things work, but it's also to make sure that you have the help needed to be able to not only do the tools, but the behavior to be able to do things with your money. So if you feel like, oh, I'm saving too much, spending too much, what are the habits that we have in place that are preventing you from making the strides and the gains that you want and expect? Let's work together to be able to make the change in your behavior and habits to make those things a reality. And a lot of it, I wish could say like, oh, you could do it, we'll work with you and it's done in one day. But you have to remember, these are behaviors you've carried from, when you're little girl, little guy, and now you're grown up, and all of these behaviors itself have continued to manifest. So it's one of those kind of things. Let's work together to be able to change that so you can achieve the goals that are needed to make that work for you. All right. So questions, comments, feedback. All I got to say is if there's any questions, if there's anything anybody wants to follow up, my contact information is here. Have people reach out to me and really just schedule a consult to understand exactly where you are and where you want to be. But we're here to help in regards to your process itself. There's no judgment. It's really more of like providing the information and knowledge that's needed so you can be successful in the goals that you set for yourself and your family. All right. If there's no questions, I got to say thank you so much for taking the time. And really, if there's any questions, follow up afterward, post some stuff on Facebook or just reach out to me. But I want to say thank you so much. And I appreciate you guys taking the time. And I'm looking forward to you.
I do have one question, George.
Go for it.
Okay. So real quick, everything, the price of everything is rising, and we have like a set budget on everything, right?
Yep.
So how do you deal with what do you start doing to still be able to save in this time like this when everything is going up?
Yep.
It just feels like there's no way, and everything is always happening, an emergency, the kids, this and that. I'm just saying, so how do you combat that?
Yeah. So
you can mute me again. I have a lot of kids, so. Okay,
that's the thing. There's no easy answer for that particular, because the rise of cost, there's always rise of costs when it comes to the ebb and flow. Gasoline prices are high, food prices are high itself. It's one of those kind of things that we need to look at our budget when it comes to like, okay, how much are we bringing in? And what are we doing to, again, what's important to us when it comes to our budget itself? So a lot of us, though, it's the rising cost is one thing, but are we eating out more? Or what are we doing with our money itself when it comes to the rising costs to say, okay, we may need to make adjustments in regards to that. And the easy answer is like, oh, we'll just make more money, right? But if we're not intentional when it comes to, what's important to us, we may need to take so okay, we may not be able to save as much this month because we have to more groceries. We've got to, we've had to deal with those kind of situations. But it's reevaluating your budget on a monthly basis to say, is there any other categories in our budget that we need to make adjustments? Is it important to go out to the restaurants? Is it that important? Is it that important to, like Amazon or I don't know, other categories in your budget that we need to make adjustments to be able to still save and still be able to manage the food budget on a monthly basis? So there's no easy answer in regards to that, but I think all of us are combating that right now when it comes to the rising, prices. And I don't know if anybody else on the call, like, what are you guys doing with the rise in prices? Is there anything that you guys are going through when it comes to your budgets?
I know this sounds stupid. I can't even bring myself to go to karaoke anymore just because it's like, dang, I'm gonna be buying. Well, it's serious. It's the same as eating out. It's like,
yep.
Okay, so I have to like
doesn't
take
mean
it back a notch,
And that's the thing itself, that we have to. There may be sacrifices when it comes to fun in some cases in order to continue to do the savings. But those are personal choices we make in our budgets that we've got to work through as well. But yeah, there's definitely no easy answer when it comes to that. Go ahead, Daryl. You got something for me? Ooh, you're on mute or the sound's not coming through.
Don't worry, we'll wait.
Oh, it's not working. No.
Working.
Does he
Wait, I think you came in.
Let
say
me,
something?
Yep, you're in now. Go ahead.
Yeah, we
Daryl.
hear
What's
you.
happening?
Oh,
That's
well,
good
he had him for
photo.
a little bit. There you go.
So, yeah, so that's the thing, Alex, is that there's no, there's adjustments we need to make in the budgets on a monthly basis in regards to be able to say like what's important, what we need to do. And like I said, we can easily say make more money and we're good from that perspective, but it also could be like, what adjustments do I need to make on a month-to-month basis? And what's important to me? So, because some of us might sacrifice savings or tithing or any of those kind of things in order to continue to do eating or any of those kind of things itself. So but that's all personal when it comes to our budgets, but you have to do it on a month-to-month basis. You can't. Most of us set it and then forget it, like the commercial says. And I think that's where we get into trouble when it comes to how we're intentional with the money that we have.
Yeah. I'll admit I'm like the first, but Daryl, you got something?
Can you hear me now?
Yay!
Yeah.
Go ahead, brother.
All right. I went through getting rid of debt like 10, 12 years ago. And you hit the nail on the head, George. It's evaluating your budget every month to make sure it's as efficient as possible. And we got to the point, I was in outside sales, and we had a certain budget for our gas for our cars. And it meant so much to us to stick to that budget that at the end of the month, I look and I say, I've got to drive 100 miles to an appointment and I've got 1/8 of a tank left in my car. I'm taking my wife's car. She's got a half a tank. And rather than blow the budget and go out and get gas for my car. So it gets down to tiny little narrow things like that to be as efficient in your budget every single month. And like life does happen, and you may have to adjust month to month, but it's making sure every month, every dollar, you're just as efficient as you possibly can, because let's face it, inflation happens. So
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Good
And
point.
play
Thanks,
the
Gerald.
lottery. I guess that's the only other easier answer.
With inflation, that's my 3 cents, not 2 cents.
Well, yeah, it went up.
Okay.
All right. Well, guys, I just want to say, if there's, I appreciate, I want to be cautious of your time itself, but I do appreciate you guys attending. I'll have the recording itself will be made available through YouTube as well. So if you want to share that, but like I said, if there's any questions, comments, follow-ups, ping me, post me, call me, see you in a meeting, and we could always have a conversation in regards to those kind of items itself. But like I said, I appreciate you guys and taking the time, and I will definitely see you soon hopefully on the next webinar, and we'll continue conversations. Thanks, guys. All right, take care.
Thanks, George. Bye.